few weeks ago, I did a video here on my channel talking about 8 movies that I was never gonna rewatch. And just like the first time that I made that video, I am now gonna follow it up with a recommendations list of movies that you should actually give your attention to instead. Now, some of these movies are for reasons like they just never got the attention that they should have got to begin with, or in a couple of these movies' cases, they were popular at one point, but the world just seems to have kind of forgotten that they exist, so I'm bringing them back. If you're new here, I go by Hordes, and if you're not new, welcome back. I talk about horror movies here on my channel on Mondays and Fridays, so if that sounds like something you would be interested in, maybe stick around and subscribe. And if you have any movies that you also want to share that you think deserve more attention and more love than they actually get, please feel free to drop them in my comment section down below. Let's get a list going of movies that we all want each other to go and watch. So without further ado, let's jump into the recommendations. Attack the Block from 2011 is a sci-fi horror comedy. An unlucky woman and a gang of tough inner-city kids make an unlikely alliance to try and defend their turf against an invasion of savage alien creatures, turning a South London apartment complex into an intergalactic war zone when the extraterrestrials prove to be tougher than any other rival they have previously come up against. Now, I can hear some of you saying, Hordes, Attack the Block is a really popular movie and everyone loves this movie, but I ask you the question, when is the last time you actually heard anybody say that they've watched this movie in the past few years, besides me talking about it now? So I'm bringing it back because Attack the Block is one of those movies that is universally loved for all the right reasons. It does all the talking for itself. You have got a bunch of really likeable inner city kids with the attitude of when you have got nothing to lose, you're gonna fight for everything that you have got. It is an equally funny and smart take on an alien invasion, and these aliens are not your standard aliens, because when was the last time that you saw an alien invasion where they looked like a hybrid between like a bear and a monkey and they have giant glowy teeth? Because that's what you're going to be getting in Attack the Block. Now, if rumours are to be believed, and take this with a pinch of salt, a grain of salt, whatever the expression is to you, there are rumours that Attack the Block 2 has actually been greenlit with the same writer and same director, and John Boyega is coming back to play Moses again. So if you didn't already feel the urge to go and watch this movie or rewatch this movie, take this as a sign to go and rewatch Attack the Block. You can expect a group of really likeable teens, 2 adorable kids called Probs and Mayhem, an intergalactic fight the likes that South London has never seen and will probably never see again, and the urge to go and play FIFA. And Jodie Whittaker's in it, so there you go. Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls from 2023 is a horror comedy. Fledgling occultist Onyx and a group of worshippers attend a once-in-a-lifetime ritual at their idol Bartok the Great's mansion. As the group is led by Bartok and his assistant Farah in a series of rituals meant to better them, it becomes clear that their intentions are more nefarious. Is Onyx doomed to be a nobody, or is he the only one who can defeat Bartok and save his friends from damnation? If I said villain with an eye patch and a twirly mustache, played by Jeffrey Combs, and you're not sold on this, we can't be friends, because Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls is the perfect movie for the 80s, 90s baby that loved horror. This movie is like Are You Afraid of the Dark, Goosebumps, Round the Twist, all of these shows that you grew up with, made into a movie for adults. It has kept that like childhood kind of nostalgic vibes to it because it's actually set in the late 80s, early 90s as well. And this movie is great, it really is. And this is me saying go and watch. If you are an 80s, 90s baby, you will get so many of the little references that are thrown in this. And the other thing that it gives me vibes of is if you've seen the 2003 version of Haunted Mansion, the Disney movie, it's a little bit of that sprinkled in on top as well. Like, I can't tell you enough to go and give this one a chance if you've not seen it yet. It's designed to look like an 80s heyday creature feature movie like Gremlins or Fright Night, And the entire movie was actually crowdfunded, and it does an amazing job with its budget, which was just over $610,000. Like, nostalgia sells, and this does a really good job of selling you nostalgia.
Who here likes nostalgia?
You can expect a social outcast just trying to find his tribe, a magical cult, puppets, and Jeffrey Combs giving you full-on cartoon villain with an amazing mustache. The Furies from 2019 is an Australian death game horror. When Kayla and best friend Maddie are kidnapped, they find themselves unwilling participants in a deadly game where 8 women known as beauties are hunted by 8 masked men known as beasts in the Australian outback. But when Kayla is saved from one of the beasts by another, it becomes clear that this is a team game where beauty and beast are paired in only pairs known by the beasts and must work together to be the last team standing. Death games are one of my favourite subgenres, and I am always happy to recommend death game movies. Now, The Furies is a team death game, if you weren't aware, which takes 8 women and pairs them off with 8 mute, masked slasher villains in a game of who can be the last pair standing in the Australian outback. And let's just say, nobody in this movie is prepared to go down without a fight. There is some great gory slasher kills in this, and every single one of the beasts has their own like unique set of skills that they bring to the table. So how often do you watch a movie and think, that's whose team I want to be on? And there is a correct answer in this one. The whole point is, if one of the pair dies, both of them will end up dead, but only the beasts know who they have been paired with, and through process of elimination, everybody slowly starts to work out who they can trust. And let's just say, you can't trust a single one of the beauties in this movie. I can't go into the plot any more than just the bare minimum that I've mentioned there, because there is so many spoilers, and they did leave this one with the potential for a sequel, but I highly doubt that 5 years on we're actually going to get that sequel. But I really hope that at some point we get something else that is similar to The Furies. It's also not very long, at 1 hour and 22 minutes, and when I say the first 10 minutes, the setup is done, I'm serious. We've established who Kayla is, we know who best friend Maddie is, and all of a sudden, we're out in the Australian outback and everything is kicking off, and there's a man with an axe, and that's all you need to know. Just, it's good, it's good.
It's so good!
You can expect some really gory slasher kills, to not trust a single one of the beauties in this movie, and to question which one of the beasts that you would like to be on a team with. The correct answer is Rotface or Babyface. Stakeland from 2010 is a vampire horror drama. Martin is a normal teenage boy before the country collapses into an empty pit of economical and political disaster. A vampire epidemic has swept across what is left of the nation's abandoned towns and cities, and it is up to Mr., a death-dealing rogue vampire hunter, to get Martin safely to the north, to Canada, to the continent's new Eden. This is the second entry on this list where I can hear you saying, Hordes, but Stakeland is a really popular movie and everybody likes this movie. And to that I say, just like with Attack the Block, yes it is, but when was the last time that you heard anybody talk about Stakeland? There was a time where Underworld made vampires all like sexy looking, and then Twilight came along and the world went, no thank you, we don't like this version of vampires, we're gonna go and find something else to obsess over. And the world discovered zombies at that point. And all I can say is Stakeland is like if you took The Walking Dead, particularly season 4, I want to say, when they are heading through Terminus, you know, when everybody's out in the wild, that kind of setting, and instead of zombies, it is feral vampires that will rip your face off. You follow a group of survivors as they head up towards Canada and this like fabled sanctuary that is positioned on the borders, because let's just say the US ain't doing so good in this this vampire apocalypse. Now, when I think vampires, I either want the sexy kind from Underworld, or I want the feral kind that will rip your face off, that you wouldn't want to go out in the daytime in case you came across them, let alone at nighttime. That is Stakeland, and I love that about this movie. And if you want something where the humans are just as deadly, if not more deadly, than the Outbreak, Stateland's got you covered because let's just say there is a crazy, crazy end of the world cult in this that do not disappoint and are equally as big a threat as the vampires in this. You can expect a group of survivors that feel like just the everyday person trying to survive, a legendary vampire hunter simply known as the Mister, and vampires that will rip your face off as fast as look at you. Isolation from 2005 is an Irish sci-fi horror. Dan, a cattle farmer in a remote Irish countryside, is convinced by X, all of the vets, to take part in a profit-driven experiment on his cows, run by scientist John, who seems very concerned with maintaining secrecy. When conducting a routine check on a pregnant cow, Orla is bitten by the fetus. John is called to the farm and assures them that the safety checks are all okay, but he is more concerned with the presence of a caravan just outside the farm, occupied by Jamie and Mary, a desperate couple who are hiding from something. Isolation is a monster movie, and if you like the movie Splinter from 2008, great movie. If you haven't seen it, go and watch Splinter as well. There is a lot of crossover between these two movies because we are talking small cast in a very isolated single location where if something goes wrong, you know that help, when it eventually gets there, if it does get there, isn't going to be there fast enough. And the thing that you should be scared of is a parasite which is moving from host to host to host and growing more and more powerful every time it moves. This is a science-based sci-fi horror, but most of this is told from the point of view of Dan or the two people in the caravan. So even if you don't love science and it often goes over your head, you will probably enjoy this one because it's not told from the point of view of a scientist talking in scientific jargon. It's a man wondering what the actual hell has happened to his herd of cattle. I do have a full spoiler-free review video for this one here on my channel if you would like a little bit more information, but I would also say if you are somebody that is sensitive to what happens with animals on farms, then maybe check Does the Dog Die First for this one, because I will be the first to say there is a scene in this that is a little bit of a hard watch where a calf is obviously suffering and the vet uses a bolt gun on it.
Take care of yourself.
You can expect mutant cow spawn that is continuing to grow in size, a group of isolated survivors who know that help is not on its way, and a bolt gun being used as a murder weapon on humans. Dead Sushi from 2012 is a Japanese action horror comedy. Kiko, the daughter of a legendary sushi chef, runs away from home when his karate-style regime becomes too severe. Finding work at a rural hot spring inn, she is ridiculed by the president of a pharmaceutical company. When one of the researchers arrives intent on revenge by creating a serum that turns fish on rice into killer sushi, Kiko has to team up with former sushi chef Sawada to fight off the creatures. If you like absurd horror comedies where you never know what direction that the movie is gonna go in, then Dead Sushi is the perfect example. The CGI in this movie is terrible, but it's amazing because it's terrible. It only makes everything better. To try and describe this movie, I would need one of those push boards with all the pins going in all the different directions because so much happens in this wild, crazy, insane movie about sushi that bites back. There's a sushi tornado at one point in this, and I love when a movie goes for over-the-top, unrealistic levels of blood, and Dead Sushi is like somebody turned on a fire hydrant at one point because it is raining buckets of blood. There's rice at one point that turns people into zombies. There's so much. There's a singing egg sushi roll in this, and he's the personal highlight for me of the entire movie because he's so cute. Did I think that I needed a sushi mascot after watching this movie? Yes. Did I think this prior? No. The acting is over the top from start to finish. It is being played at like 120%, and I wouldn't have it any other way. You really have to like over the top, absurd horror comedy movies to love Dead Sushi, but if you do, go and give Dead Sushi a watch. I even have another spoiler-free review here on my channel where I just spent like 10 minutes raving about why you should go and watch Dead Sushi.
Sushi!
You can expect a hero who is the daughter of a legendary sushi chef, Sushi that fights back, a singing egg roll, and a villain with a fish for a head. Spontaneous from 2020 is a romance horror comedy. When the students in their high school start exploding, two seniors, Myra and Dylan, find themselves drawn to each other and an unexpected romance blossoms. But as the explosions increase, Myra and Dylan discover that when tomorrow is no longer promised, they can finally start living for today, questioning who will still be alive to graduate high school and leave their small town behind. Horror and romance is not a crossover that you see very often, but Spontaneous is really cute. It's light and fluffy at times, it's got some really good feel-good moments in it, but it has also got buckets and buckets of blood. Spontaneous is about finally meeting somebody that you click with, experiencing first love, and knowing that you could also explode in like a balloon full of blood into chunky human soup at a moment's notice. Unless you don't like blood, I think most people will get something out of Spontaneous because it really is that right mix. It talks about love and grief and the idea of never being able to leave a small town, because how many places do you know if you're born in a place, you die in a place, and then impending doom of exploding into chunky human soup? And it's really good, and there is a monologue in this at the end that even if you don't watch the movie, just watch the end monologue, because if you're having a bad day, this is the monologue that you need to hear.
That was beautiful.
You can expect teenagers exploding like human balloons, people being painted in buckets of blood, a government facility, and finding love at possibly the worst time. #Alive from 2020 is a Korean zombie horror comedy. While a grisly virus ravages a Korean city, turning people into violent, cannibalistic zombies, Jun-woo tries to stay safe by locking himself inside his apartment. As the days pass and food and water supplies run out, the phone and internet stop working, and Jun becomes isolated from the rest of the world. But just as he loses hope, he discovers another survivor is living in the building opposite his. #Alive was one of my favourite movies that I discovered last year, and all I can say is Jun is one of the most relatable characters that I have ever seen in a zombie apocalypse. When it actually breaks out, he's playing video games. He continues to use the internet all the way up until it's cut off. He has moments where he doubts his own abilities and questions how the hell he's still alive, and he gets really excited when he's scavenging supplies and he finds Nutella to go. Then you add in the level-headed Yubin, and she is the polar opposite to Jun. Jun is just sort of living day to day, and she's prepared. She's ready for anything in this apocalypse, and I love her so much. And then you get the most feral of zombies, which I love, and it does one of my favourite things in zombie movies, and that is amongst the horde are special zombies that you can pick out that you know are gonna have these like highlighted moments and be a bit more of a menace compared to the rest of the horde.
Fashion show!
You can expect the most relatable millennial hero, discussions of mental health in a crisis, a deadly zombie in a high-vis jacket, and a reminder why you should never trust a friendly stranger in a zombie apocalypse. So there you have it, the 8 horror movies that I personally think deserve more attention, and if you want to share your own recommendations in the comment section, please feel free to do so. I will go and check them all out because I check out every single recommendation that I get given. If you would like to know every single horror movie that I watch though, not just the ones I talk about here on YouTube, you can also find me over on Instagram and Letterboxd at HordesOfHorror, where I am currently watching 150 horror movies throughout the year, and I'm already over 100 movies in. But I will be back on Friday with another solo movie review, and this time there is a Spanish movie that came out in 2022 that I have been meaning to watch since 2022, but it's set in the summer, and I can't watch summer movies in winter. That feels weird, so you're gonna have to come back to find out what it is. So until next time, bye.